About 90% of startups fail. But I sought to do better than that. So for the first 4 startups that I was a part of, I failed 100% of the time. I started making freelance websites in high school. The ones that I produced were pretty hideous. But it was the mid-2000s, and that was not abnormal. Made decent money for high school, and I got early leadership experience managing a local bike rental chain. So I had a head start on the startup dream, right? Not so much. Over the next 5 years as I finished school, I would work on those 4 startups and dozens of projects that died before they could even be called startups. Although they were all failures, 2 of them were interesting enough failures to put on my resume when I applied for a job at a 5th startup, TEDxUofW. I was in my senior year at UW and about to buy a house with my wife. So I figured I should swallow my pride and do something responsible. Thankfully for my ambition, joining a company with more than 50 employees passes as responsible in Seattle. And thankfully for my relationship, TEDxUofW has done very well. But I want to go back and dwell on those failures, in a constructive way. Because even once you're rudely relieved of the vision of the glamorous startup, you might be left with the vision of thankless hard work and the belief that enough of that work will make you successful. But I've seen hardworking, talented entrepreneurs fall short of executing on great ideas just because they couldn't get access to the right resources or the right advice at a critical time. So how does that happen? Well, let's say that I'm back in my senior year, and instead of joining TEDxUofW, I want to start my own company. One of my mentors likes to ask entrepreneurs what they're best in the world at. He says it's their special skill, not their idea, that will make them successful. All right, so what am I best in the world at? User interface engineering. Great. What other skills do I need to build a successful company? Write business models, run payroll, size markets, recruit talent. You get the idea. Bummer. How am I supposed to use my special skill to out-execute my competition if I suck at everything? Well, clearly I need a team. I do know some people that are world-class at things that I'm not. It's a good start, but I don't know everyone. In fact, as a first-time entrepreneur, I barely know anyone. Nevertheless, I scraped together a team. Now we need funding. As a student, I can barely bootstrap a good meal, let alone a company. We need investors. And here's where the vision of hard work rewarded evaporates. It turns out that investors don't take cold calls. They get thousands of them. If I want to pitch a venture capitalist, I need someone to introduce me. If I was working with a top-tier legal team, they could help. But this is my first time, and I don't have access to that. If I knew a successful founder, she could introduce me to her past investors. If one of my parents worked in investment banking or corporate law, they could make some connections. And those connections would be able to tell me all the things about venture capital that I don't even know enough to be scared of yet. They'd tell me about partner dynamics and investment theses and board composition. They'd tell me about the laundry list of deliverables that I would need to provide in order to impress a partner. They'd tell me about the make or break factors in my pitch, and that those factors could change from fund to fund or even from partner to partner. And we haven't even talked about whether my idea is any good yet. How am I supposed to know? This is my first company, but I'm supposed to know whether this idea is good enough to leave my job and my benefits over? I'm supposed to be confident enough to spend all my savings, refinance my house, to convince dozens of other people to follow me into the unknown? Welcome to the emotional pit of despair. The good news is that there are actually a lot of fellow entrepreneurs down here to keep me company. But let's see if we can find a way out. Now, we already talked about how I can't fund this thing by myself, but what about my friends and family? This is how most businesses get started. It's the easiest money to get, but I can't get very much, and I'm putting a lot of emotional risk on the table. I could apply to an incubator like Y Combinator or Techstars. These are structured programs that give me access to some resources, a network, maybe some money over a period of a few months. I could pitch angel investors. Think Shark Tank, but slower and less dramatic. The money's harder to get, but the check sizes are bigger. They'll ask for more of my company, but in exchange, I get access to their expertise and their connections. I could persist until I finally got a meeting with a venture capitalist. They're basically angel investors, but everything is bigger and more serious, including how much of my company they want. But until I have a team and a product and revenue, raising venture capital is going to be a real stretch, especially for a first-timer like me. So I'm just a few options in here, and I already feel like I've hit a wall. And in fact, none of these options are quite what I'm looking for. I don't just need money to get started. I also need help filling out my founding team. I need help validating whether this idea is worth pursuing. I need a real co-founder that can commit to the long haul with me. Enter startup studios. Studios are a new type of organization that truly seeks to partner with entrepreneurs from day zero. It's okay that I don't know any designers or enough engineers or whatever other skills I might need to build my company. They can help me recruit the right people, and they have a core team that can help me do the work until those people are found. It's okay that I don't have any money. They'll provide the funds to validate my idea and to build whatever is necessary to raise that first round of funding. It's okay that I've never pitched an investor. They can help me refine my pitch deck and make the introductions, starting with friendly investors that are going to be more forgiving. It's okay that I've never done any of this before, as long as the studio believes that I can be a world-class leader for the company I want to build, and that the idea can be a venture-scale business. Now, this has just been a hypothetical. I'm not trying to start a company right now, or I guess more accurately, I'm trying to start 8 companies right now. I work for a startup studio here in Seattle called Pioneer Square Labs, where over the last 2.5 years, we've built 6 venture-backed companies and several more that are raising funding right now. And looking back on how those companies came to be, I think there are 3 things that make this model really special. First, it's flexible. The scenario I described is just one way that entrepreneurs engage with startup studios. Maybe you're a successful founder looking for your next project. We could invite you to be an entrepreneur in residence with us to discover and build a new idea together. Maybe we've been validating an idea in-house that we think a great leader could turn into a company. We could ask you to be the CEO. Maybe you already have everything you need to be successful on your own, but you could come to us to accelerate the process. Second, studios are validation machines. In order to create all those companies, we had to kill over 100 ideas in under 2 weeks each. We have a formal validation process that includes all the things you might expect: market research, customer interviews, financial models. But we go further than that. We create test brands and websites that represent specific solutions to specific problems. And we use digital marketing to reach our actual customers at scale to determine whether they have the problems we're trying to solve, whether they're compelled by the solution we're offering, and how much it costs to reach them. We use similar experiments to validate other assumptions in our business models. It's a truly data-driven process for company building. And finally, the network is everything. It's how you recruit, it's how you raise money, and most importantly, it's how you learn once you're out of school. As an entrepreneur, your peers are your mentors, and when you're first starting out, it's so hard to find people that are both experienced and open to giving you honest advice. Studios like PSL are networks of founders, individual contributors, investors, and advisors. And they're networks that you can get access to, not just after you're a proven company builder, but in order to help you build your first company. I'm a proud UW grad, and I have the privilege of serving on the Informatics Advisory Board here. And when I'm on campus talking to leadership, faculty, and students, I'm so inspired by what I see. There's a whole generation of talented young entrepreneurs building their networks and their skills on this campus. Starting your first company may be more challenging than you expect, but there's never been a better time to try. Because startup studios are democratizing the access to the people, processes, and ideas that great companies are made of. Thank you.